Guys, Cameron here. So today I decided that I wanted to go through this document that I keep referencing in a lot of my prior videos. I will make sure to include a link to this document in the description below. But if you're wondering what this document is, it provides a lot of information in regards to the Economic Injury Disaster Loan and the Payroll Protection Program in regards to eligibility, criteria for spending, etc. It may not have every answer to every small gray area in regards to the stimulus aid, but it should provide a lot of info that is helpful to you guys. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so once you follow the link, you should be able to see this is the first page on it. So this is the most updated one that I've been able to see anyway from the SBA. So this is indeed an SBA.gov document. It is not something that I or some random other person on YouTube has made. So we'll go ahead and move forward from the first page here. So this just provides on the second page some quick links in regards to different types of resources that you can find for more of the latest information. I think that's really helpful. Some of you that may have watched my last video, the last point I made was to make sure that you were going to find the most reliable and up-to-date information from the most reliable sources. And this is a very reliable source in regards to stimulus aid as it is from the SBA. So anyway, feel free to check out those links as well. So moving on to the next page. So first and foremost, this is just the heading for the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. Okay, so the SBA's working capital disaster loans. This is just a brief overview. I'll walk through it real quick. You know, it talks about where the funds are coming from, how you can apply, all that good stuff. So at this moment, as we have discussed, the economic injury disaster loan, unless you're an ag-related business, from my knowledge at this time, you can't apply for the grant. But anyway, funds come directly from the U.S. Treasury. You can apply directly at the disasterloan.sba.gov. There is no cost to apply. There is no obligation to take the loan if offered. So for those of you who have already received your economic injury disaster loan grants, there is no obligation to take the loan is what this is showing on here. But you will hear me say this right now, and I'm sure I will say this a lot throughout the video. Make sure before you take any action or don't take any action to make sure you reach out either to your lender, accountant, attorney, or at the very least an SBA rep for clarification. Okay, the maximum unsecured loan amount is $25,000. That means, well, at least this appears to me that you will not have to have any type of collateral up to the first $25,000 for a loan. These loan payments are automatically deferred for 12 months. And as many of you know, the advance in reference to the grant was up to $10,000, and that is prorated on the basis of the number of employees that you have. Okay, moving on. So the SBA's economic injury disaster loan terms. This is a question I get quite a bit in regards to how much you can borrow. You know, how does it work with interest rates? Okay, so here are the answers, right? So how much can you borrow? You can borrow up to $2 million. The interest rates for small businesses typically are 3.75%. Most private or nonprofits are 2.75%. Now, I really like this. I think it'd be very difficult to find loan terms of this nature in regards to how advantageous they are, just generally speaking from a business or commercial loan standpoint. So typically, I think it would be pretty difficult for a small business to get that low of an interest rate in conjunction with that amortization. So that is of up to a 30-year fixed rate is what that appears to be to me. Now, you know, I'd make sure to get clarification with the SBA rep, but if you could get a loan, you know, for $50,000 if you're a small business at 3.75% interest rate as a 30-year fix, that's probably about as good of loan terms as you can get. Now that's going to come with some red tape, seeing as how it is from the SBA, but that's pretty good. Eligibility is based on the size, type of business and financial resources. Okay, so how can you use the loan funds for the economic injury disaster loan? Fixed debts, so rent, etc., payroll, accounts payable. And this is where it gets a little bit vague and where I would ask you again to go reach out to an SBA rep. Some bills that could have been paid had the disaster not occurred. I would make sure to get clarification on that. And the reason why is because I would hate for you to have your own interpretation of this and then get in trouble later down the road. Okay. Moving on. Eligible. So who is eligible for this? Small businesses under 500 employees, sole proprietors, cooperatives under 500 employees, Employer stock ownership plan, ESOP, under 500 employees. Tribal small business, under 500 employees. Okay, so moving on to the next page. Agriculture cooperative, aquaculture enterprise, nursery or producer cooperative, under 500 employees. Businesses with more than 500 employees, but under SBA size standard. Okay. Private nonprofit organization with IRS designation 501c, D, or E. Okay. And you can read that, but I won't read all the way through that. Ineligible. A legal activity is defined by the federal guidelines. Principal with 50% plus more than 60 days delinquent on child support. Agriculture enterprise other than an aquaculture enterprise, agriculture cooperative or nursery. Yeah, anyway, if you need clarification on this, I don't know a ton about this area in regards to stimulus aid, so I would make sure to call a rep. Other things that are ineligible: displays of the sexual nature. More than 1/3 of gross annual revenue from legal gambling activities. Is in the business of lobbying, is a state, local, or municipal government entity, and cannot be a member of Congress. Okay. Primary criteria for approval: acceptable credit history, ability to repay the SBA loan. So pretty short. All right. Ineligible uses of the loans: dividends or bonuses, disbursements to owners unless for performance of services, repayment of stockholder principal loans, expansion of facilities or acquisition of fixed assets, repair or replacement of physical damages, refinancing long-term debt. So in essence, they're really trying to make sure they put an emphasis that this money is not for really the advancement of your business more than it is to help your business float, right? Ineligible uses of the loan: paying down, including regular installment payments, or paying off loans provided or owned by other federal agencies, including the SBA. Payment of any part of a direct federal debt, including the SBA loans, except for IRS obligations. Relocation, other ineligible uses available online. There's a link right here. Okay, so this is just walking through the streamlined process requirements in regards to what type of business you have to be in order to apply for that kind of thing. Now, I don't think this is like I said earlier, to businesses that are not ag-related, but that may have changed by the time of this video, or that could actually just be incorrect. So when in doubt, give the SBA rep a call, right? Okay, other information required. Yeah, so SBA is not going to give a big loan without a lot of personal and business financial information. So that would be gross revenues, cost of goods sold, lost rents, cost of operating expenses, other reimbursements received, numbers of employees, which honestly a lot of these questions were asked, actually, if not all of them, on the original streamlined application. But as I stated in a prior video, the SBA is sending out emails to business owners indicating that the actual loan portion is starting to be, I guess, dispersed. And so they're going to need more documentation from you. You're also going to need to set up, from what I understand, a portal for your business. That way you can put in all the documentation. And at that point, I think an SBA rep should reach out to you in regards to the amount of money that you can qualify for. But again, we have, or when I say we, I mean me, I have no definitive answers in regards to the nuts and bolts of how that's going to work. Okay. And this is just an image of the advance. This was on the original streamlined application for the economic injury disaster loan. You know, people would check that off, and yeah, okay. So this is, right now, this says likely requested. I am thinking that you're probably going to have to turn in all these forms. With the original economic injury disaster loan, before they put up the streamlined application, you had to fill all these out, and it was very burdensome because there was just, you know, you got to print all that stuff out. You had to go find a bunch of information for your business, but it makes sense. They're going to need all that information in order to be able to disperse the loan. And you can look more into that if you need to. Okay, so other things that may be requested: federal income tax returns for principals, general partners, or managing members and affiliates for 3 years, which is not fun, but yeah. If the most recent federal income tax return has not been filed, a year-end profit and loss statement, so a P&L and a balance sheet for that tax year. A current year-to-date profit and loss statement and additional filing requirements, the SBA Form 1368, providing monthly sales figures. Okay. General information: if more funds are needed, applicants can submit supporting documents and a request for an increase. If less funds are needed, applicants can request a reduction in the loan amount. So this is allowing you to change the loan amount up or down depending on a variety of different situations. Okay, and hey, it even says right here, when in doubt, apply, right? So Okay, and another thing I like is it includes just some FAQs on the document. This isn't going to answer every single little gray area question, but hopefully it helps answer a lot of your questions. So like, how long will it take to know if I'm approved for a loan? And some of these are going to be vague. We'll process applications as soon as possible. That's not going to give you anything definitively. It's really pretty reminiscent of how it's been handled so far, but at least they are providing, an FAQ here. So you can walk through that. Okay, so moving on to the second section, this is the payroll. Okay, so moving on to the second section, this is the Paycheck Protection Program. Let's go ahead and move through this. A lot of you may already know all this information, and again, your lender will probably know all the information you need to know. Before we get moving on this, I would advise for the Payroll Protection Program that you reach out to your lenders. They're the ones that are able to disperse those loans and give those out. And so you can work with them in order to get the information in regards to the Payroll Protection Program. But with that in mind, you're getting the Payroll Protection Program information straight from SBA with this document. So we'll go and walk through it. Okay, so the Paycheck Protection Program, and I keep saying payroll, but I kind of think they're synonymous at this point. But Paycheck Protection Program provides small businesses with funds to pay up to 8 weeks of payroll costs, including benefits. Funds can also be used to pay interest on mortgages, rent, and utilities. Entire loan amount may be forgiven. May be forgiven. Okay, so we're about to talk about, maybe more of the logistics for how you need to spend that money. And I think it's on one of the next pages, but we'll talk about that here in a second. Okay, so important details: you can get up to $10 million. Must be a small business, fewer than 500 employees. And here are the other criteria. So the interesting part was there for a little while, sole proprietors, self-employed, independent contractors didn't know, can we apply for this, can we not? And so they made it open to them, which, unfortunately, right after these guys got access to it, the first set of funds ran out. And so they were, again, they were re-injected. So I think a lot of people have since been able to get access to it. But at the beginning, pretty unfortunate because no one knew if it was going to get re-injected or not. Okay. Okay, so payroll cost 75%. Yes, this is what I was talking about a second ago. So salary, wages, and commissions and tips got to be capped at $100K per employee. Employee benefits, including costs for vacation, parental, family, medical, or sick leave. Those are things that can be used on. State and local taxes assessed on compensation. Most will use average monthly in 2019 in regards to being able to determine the amount that you will get. For sole proprietors, wages, commissions, income, or net earnings. For self-employment, capped at 100K. So yeah, there's a 100K cap. I mean, that's really all this is saying. So, okay. And from what I understand right now, which again, I mentioned this in a prior video, make sure to follow up with your lender on this. Do not take me and then take action. I always, advise that you speak to a professional in their respective fields before taking any action. But from what I understand, with the PPP, 75% of the quote-unquote forgivable loan that you receive has to go to payroll. The other 25% can go to other things in the listed criteria. So keep that in mind. So other eligible costs, that would be the 25%, what that's pointing to. Rent under lease agreements, utilities, interest on mortgage obligations, interest on any other debt obligations that were incurred before February 15th, which again, this is one of those vague things or gray areas that I'm a little bit weary of, but yes, okay. Lenders will verify your business was in operation on February 15th. Your business had employees. Will verify average monthly payroll costs. Those are what they're going to use primarily to figure out if they can even get you in the door to apply, right? Other requirements: collateral, you don't need it. Personal guarantee, don't need it. SBA fees, no. Agent fees, no. Forgivable loan proceeds covered approved costs. So again, that is the biggest thing that I'm harping on, is making sure that you are doing your due diligence in regards to understanding the criteria for the expenditures. Make sure you understand how to spend this money. Make sure you are in constant contact with the lender. Well, constant. Just make sure you're in contact with your lender in regards to the expenditures. Get with your accountant on it. Get with an SBA rep on it. Make sure that you are good, okay? Employee numbers maintained. So maintaining your employees, yes, that's another thing you want to ask your lender. From what I understand, if you start laying off people, it could hurt your chances for those funds to be forgivable, which that makes sense, but going to go ahead and say it anyway. Compensation levels are maintained. How to request loan forgiveness: submit a written request to your lender. Request should include documents verifying full-time equivalent employees, employee pay rates, payments on eligible mortgage, payments on lease, payments on utilities. So, and lender has 60 days to reply. So, I mentioned this in a prior video. You know, I've had a lender go as far as to say, you know, if you can, make a paper trail. If you can pay some employees with checks, do it. If you can pay other expenditures that meet the criteria for spending, do it. Keep an Excel spreadsheet that logs from the time you got your money down to the penny, and also logs every single expenditure down to the penny, you know, with like maybe a space saying here is exactly what I spent it on, here's the date, here's the amount that I spent it on, and just tracking everything. You know, maybe even taking snapshots of bank statements to make sure you know where all of that money is going. And a lot of that is really just for your own safety. But again, your lender may have a better way of documenting. That's just one way that I've heard from another lender. Follow up with them on that. If your loan is not forgiven, there will be a 2-year repayment term, 1% interest rate, 6 months deferral. Interest will accrue for a 6-month period. No prepayment penalties. Okay, so ineligible activities. Engage in any illegal activity. You are a household employer. An owner with more than 20% within the last 5 years is incarcerated, on probation, on parole, etc., etc., etc. Currently delinquent or defaulted within the last 7 years on a direct or guaranteed loan from the SBA, suspended or debarred, otherwise ineligible in SBA 5010. Okay. Other questions? Let's see. Business or any owner have common management with any other business? If yes, attach a listing of all affiliates and describe the relationship as an addendum. Okay, so these are just other questions. Okay. How much can I request? Aggregate payroll costs from the past 12 months. Subtract compensation in excess of any annual salary of 100K. So again, the 100K cap. You calculate your average monthly payroll by 12. You multiply that by 2.5. So in essence, you take your 941s, or really you just take your past 12, the 2019, from what I understand, which, you know, again, you can get with your lender on this. It could just literally mean the past 12 months. But from what I've understood is it is total 2019 income for that employee, right? If you just have one employee, you divide that by 12, you multiply that by 2.5, and that should be the amount that you can get for the loan. Again, get with your lender on that. Add any outstanding EIDL loan from January 31st to April 3rd minus any advance. Okay. Let's see. And that just gives more information there. Okay, how do I apply? Contact your local bank, as I've been saying the whole time. And see if they're participating. That is actually a good thing to emphasize, or to make distinct, I guess, in this line, is that not all local banks are participating in this. So make sure you call and ask if they are. Okay. Links to other important information, which is great. And yeah. And then there is another portion back here, the SBA debt relief. I'm not going to walk through it. If you'd like to walk through it, that's great. But really, I just wanted to make sure to go over the economic injury disaster loan and the payroll protection program, and just kind of highlight some of the things in this document for you guys. Hopefully this was helpful. And yeah, I mean, if you did find it of some use to you, and you'd like to stay a little more updated on this, and maybe you like real estate, consider subscribing and leave a like. And yeah, and that's pretty much does it for me here. And if you have any questions or anything, feel free to leave a comment as well. Or if you feel that you might have some more information that might be useful to others, feel free to leave a comment. Again, I'm posting this just because I've seen a lot of small mom and pop shops that don't really know what's going on or haven't been able to get access to some of this, and so hopefully I can be a resource to you guys. And you know, that's pretty much it. Anyway, have a great day, and thanks for stopping by the channel.